All right. Well, the United States on Thursday effectively stopped or vetoed the United Nations from recognizing a Palestinian state by casting a veto in the Security Council to deny Palestinians full membership of the world body. For more on this, we have roped in Professor Chris Isike. Now, he's a professor of African politics and international relations at the University of Pretoria. Prof, as always, thank you so much for being with us. Now, this week, the U.S. blocked the Palestinian push for a full UN membership at the Security Council, saying there's simply no other path to Palestinian statehood except through negotiation between the Israelis and the Palestinians. But did this move by the U.S. come as a surprise to you, judging by the recent developments on this very same issue, as well as the stance of the U.S. on Israel? Professor, please unmute. Professor Isike, are you there?
All right. Yes, I am.
All right. Did you hear my first question, Prof? Please go ahead.
No, I didn't hear your question. Sorry.
All right. I was asking about the veto decision, Prof. All right, that, of course, the U.S. vetoed the UN membership at the Security Council, saying that there is no other path for the Palestinians to actually get to that statehood unless it is through dialogue between the Israelis and the Palestinians. But we all know that the U.S. is not encouraging these dialogues. But did this move come as a surprise to you, judging by, of course, the recent developments on this very same issue, as well as the U.S.'s stance on Israel?
Well, no, it didn't come as a surprise, but the fact of the matter is the contradiction in advocating for a two-state solution and then rejecting any opportunity to make that happen. However, there is a certain sense in what they seem to be saying, which is that there is need for some kind of discussion around what the parameters or the boundaries of those states may be. Remember that with the settlement moves by the Israeli state on Gaza and in the West Bank, the boundaries that should form what the Palestinians initially advocated or drew as their territories have now been eroded by Israel. So it makes common sense to say, look, let's have a discussion, let's agree on what the territory and the borders will be like, then take that forward to then formalize statehood and recognition of such by the United Nations Security Council and the United Nations General Assembly. But I do understand why, the Palestinian argument is that, look, there's a contradiction in the U.S. saying this should be a subject of discussion between the Palestinians and the Israelis, and the hypocrisy of not also subjecting Israeli security to a discussion between the Palestinians and the Israelis. For Israeli security, the U.S. is able to take a stand and act in ways that it thinks furthers that particular interest. But then when it comes to the two states, recognition, it wants the Israel and Palestine to have a discussion. So that's where there's a certain recognition. But like I said before, there's a sense in trying to resolve the territorial issues on the ground so that we are clear about what this state should be, what will constitute this state territorially before it becomes recognized and approved and recognized.
But, Prof, when are these discussions between Palestine and Israel going to take place when Israel continues to bombard Gaza?
Well, that's why I'm saying that referring it is some kind of delay tactics. Actually, what should be happening is for the U.S. being a guarantor of Israeli security in the region to begin to start negotiations on what will constitute that state, right? Because the Palestinians on their own clearly will not be able to make any headway with this. Remember that there was those discussions that were put forward after the death of Yitzhak Rabin and when Netanyahu became prime minister he started stalling on this because he has made clear that he's not interested in a two-state solution. So he has delayed and delayed, this discussion. So it's actually uncharitable, disingenuous to say that it should be a discussion between the parties. The United States should be working with the other members of the Security Council to call to mediate a discussion that would eventually lead to an agreed territory for Palestine, and then to carry on with the vote to recognize or accept their full membership into the Committee of Nations.
Now, Prof, yesterday Israel carried out a strike inside, of course, Iran, which a move that Iran apparently downplayed. Or do you think this is just a lull before the storm? I'm saying this because Iran has said they were still investigating the link of that attack to Israel. So we're not exactly sure what actually eventually might happen there.
Yes, you're correct. That's the Israelis have not said anything, but it's typical of them not to say anything, immediately after, any kind of attack. So we'll still wait and see. But I think that it's a response that, like you said, the Iranians are happy with because of its limited nature. I think the message has been communicated to both parties that none of them can act and should act as rogue states in the international system without respecting international law. Hopefully, this would there will be no further action on the part of the Israelis, and we can go into the next stage of any kind of political settlement to this crisis, because this will not be won by anyone in the battlefield.
And I mean, the posture, Prof, that Iran is being urged to practice or exercise restraint, yet Israel's sole offensive against Gaza was based solely on its "we were defending ourselves" sentiment. So why should Iran not retaliate, or better yet, find better ways to try and mitigate this situation?
Yeah, these are the whataboutism questions, that dog the U.S. leadership of the world, the contradictions, if you like. Some of them call it inconsistencies in foreign policy. And for me, it is the bottom line of all of this is the conception of humanity, the idea that we are all humans, and that every human being is equal, irrespective of your race, irrespective of your ethnic, irrespective of your religion. We are all humans and should deserve the same kind of recognition ontologically. I think until we get to that stage where we all get to see and accept ourselves as equal human beings, irrespective of these social cleavages I've mentioned, we will not be able to resolve, conflicts like this. The leadership of world leaders like the U.S. will continually be questioned, because if indeed the Palestinians are humans like the Israelis, then it would, a long time ago, the U.S. would have stopped the Israelis, from killing any more than they've done. I mean, we're talking about 1,200 Israeli lives to how many Palestinian lives? At what point do we say that the killing is enough? So if everyone is recognized as such as human, then it means that the rules will apply equally to everyone. It will become easier to administer justice. It will become easier to mediate conflict, and we'll probably have a better world. But right now, there seems to be a bifurcation of people into two zones of beings and non-beings. Some beings enjoy all the privileges of the international system, and the so-called non-beings, when it happens, anything happens in their domain, you get a few sympathies here and there, and that's it. So that is the crux of this problem. The minute every state, the United States, the UK, all members of the UN Security Council and Europe, decide that Palestinians are human beings and have the same rights like Israelis, then we can be talking about not just guaranteeing the security of Israel in the region, but also guaranteeing the security of Palestinians, because they are also human beings and they are people.